What if I create a game and it's called Afterlife? In this game, your whole brain and everything you are gets turned into an avatar. You can live and exist with all the other people in Afterlife. But once you go in, it feels like 30% better than reality. And you just really did feel like, okay, this is where I should be.
I thoroughly enjoy this reality. Ultimately, it's an artificial version of this, right? Like it's a recreation of this. I don't think you can do better than this. Anytime we try to synthesize nature, it's never as good.
It's really hard. You have to have some way to recreate billions of years of logic. I think we're on a kind of wild ride towards bionic eyes and cyborgs and AI.
Some kind of intermixing of humanity and technology on the next level, for sure.
Welcome, everyone, to the OG Pod. Today, I am here with Brother Gabriel. Gabe Kerr, a comic here in Austin, Texas.
How's it going, man?
Good. I saw you have a lot going on, man. You got a new podcast. You're getting booked on shows. Tell us of your adventures.
Yeah, it's everything just like all at once. It's been crazy. I was doing very little. I spent like, I don't know, four or 5 months being a door guy at Vulcan Gas Company. And my goal was to make connections. You know what I'm saying? Like
totally.
That's what I wanted from that. And I spent, I got up on stage like 3 times during
at
that,
Vulcan?
3 or 4 months, but like at all also, because I was working every night there. So it wasn't conducive for like stage time, but I was getting booked probably once a month on a real show before that. And coming out of it, like I've got like 6 or 8 bookings ahead of me over the next 2 months. So like it was, that time was super stressful. And I was literally driving an hour and a half to get to work and then working till 2 o'clock in the morning, driving an hour and a half to get home. And it was a lot, but it definitely got me.
What's so funny about your comedy style, because I've seen you perform, I don't know, 4 or 5 times and done some podcasts with you, is you don't bring any of that stress to the table. Every time you're on stage, I'm like, oh, I'm comfortable. I'm relaxed.
You know what? A lot of people deal with stage fright or just like an uncomfortability with the exchange with the audience. And I definitely have nerves, but I've experienced this always because I did like high school theater. I did drama troupe at my church, like all that kind of stuff. So I was used to being on stage, but it's been this way for as long as I can remember. I would always get super nervous
right before,
all the way up until I stepped on the stage, and literally it's a moment, like I can feel the change. And when I step on stage, it's like
trance.
Yeah, and some of it is like it's business time, right? So like I'm very good under pressure. So like if something has to be done, I'm good at that. Like no questions asked, just like it has to happen, figure it out.
Some people need that, don't you think?
For sure. It drives me. Absolutely. Right. And for some people that's very unhealthy. It creates the wrong type of stress. But for me, I lean into it and it's good for me. So that just kind of translates to on the stage for me, that feeling of like, as soon as I step on, it's like I've done the work. Now that's not to say that there aren't times where I haven't been prepared.
Yeah.
I did like just a drop. I literally was just there for a show and somebody was doing a midnight show at Vulcan and he was like, hey, do you want to do, 10 minutes at the end? And I wasn't prepared at all. And I hadn't been on stage in a week. So like I did a little bit of new material and then just like did some stuff that I knew would get some laughs. And like, it was an okay set, but it definitely wasn't like what I would consider a good set for me on a booked show.
There's no feeling like being prepared for anything. It can be anything, a test, a presentation, a show, anytime where it's business time and you're prepared and you walk into that fucking knowing that you did everything. Like you still have all of the nerves, all of the anxiety.
Yeah, you still have to perform.
And you still have to perform.
But you have the confidence.
But you have the confidence, yeah. And when you don't, you're just like, fuck. I mean, to me, I think that there's like kind of 2 types of performances, whether it's a podcast or mic or whatever. One is like, I'm on the line for something specific. And like with a comic podcast like we're doing now, I know we're just going to have fun. I know we're just going to talk about crazy shit. It's going to be hilarious and entertaining, at least to me. I'll watch it.
Right.
But if it's like somebody that's like more like a tech person, or, you know, like they've got like a specific thing that they're an agenda or whatever, then it's like, okay, I better like have like, what am I trying to draw out of this conversation, particularly right now?
Yeah, you have
and
to
if I
have
don't
some
have
goals.
stuff prepared, if I don't have like the actual framework prepared, then I do feel kind of like a little bit of a loser, where I'm like, well, why the fuck? Why didn't you know? It's like showing up to school without your pencil. It's like, well, you don't have a pencil.
Yeah, and to that point, especially if it's something that you're not like
Smoke them if you got them.
in the middle of, you know what I'm saying? If it's something that you're trying to learn about, not something that you already have a lot of knowledge of, that's tough too, because it's like, how do I know what questions to ask? You know what I'm saying? And there's a little bit of like, I don't want to look like an idiot. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know enough to know what to ask. You know what I'm saying?
Some
like, there's a little
subjects,
bit of
like
that.
what would be a subject that you feel woefully underprepared for?
I don't know.
Menstrual cycles. I don't even know what to ask. Why are they so bothersome? You can't take a pill.
I know far
Advil
too
doesn't
much
fix it.
I have a wife, a live-in nanny, and 2 daughters. I know more about menstrual cycles
than you ever wanted to.
Then probably, and I know this is the wrong time in history to say this, but probably more than most women, if I'm being honest. And that's not braggadocious. It's just the reality of my life.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, women have a hard time understanding knowledge, you know, like that's why we didn't let them vote.
Exactly. That's why they need us to explain.
Do you think it was a mistake to let them vote? I don't know. I'm still thinking about that one.
Yeah, I feel like we've.
Is this a
we've been
regressive
paying for
society we
that.
live in?
We've been paying for that ever since.
I still can't believe we let them own Bitcoin. Anyway, I want to get canceled. That's my goal in life.
Yeah, one of my buddies I started doing comedy with in Atlanta. We've always talked about doing a show called Let's Get Canceled. Where we purposefully
wrong shit only.
Exclusively all of the things you're not allowed to say.
Yes.
And only book comics on it who are like, that's the, you know what I'm saying? That's the goal. Is
like Adam Lucky's show, The Filthy Show, that kind
exactly,
of shit.
Yes.
Who does he do that with?
And even maybe do like, you're penalized if you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like if what you say is too tame, like you get booed off a stage, you know what I'm saying? Like you've got to bring some, it would just be a
So what is the difference between that and like what Kanye did? Because what Kanye did was wrong. Like, you can't post a swastika Star David.
Okay, so the issue with Kanye, the irony that we're having this conversation while I am wearing Kyrie Irving's.
Are those Yeezys? I don't know if I've ever seen
these are Kyrie Irving shoes.
What's that? Is
He's a basketball player, but right after the Kanye stuff started, he tweeted a link to a documentary that has a lot of that, like the Jews aren't real, black people are the real Jew. It's that type, like a lot of the black Israelite stuff. So anyway, he just tweeted a link to the documentary, but it was at like right when Kanye's shit was first blowing up. So it was just like the wrong time, and he got a lot of shit. But legitimately, I got these shoes for half price because of it. So
hell yeah! What is it? What are they? Irvine?
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving. Is he a basketball player?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
I think I've heard of him.
So,
but yeah, what's the difference between Kanye's what he said and the Filthy Show or like Wrong Shit Only Show?
The problem is people can't tell, and maybe Kanye can't tell, when Kanye is being serious and when he's being performative. And maybe that's where the line crossed, is when he stopped being able to tell.
When he stopped being performative, when he started being serious.
When it started
but he's a performer. He's an entertainer. He should always be performative.
It became what he is.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he should always be performative. I feel
but
like everything should just be entertainment.
Yeah, right. Like that's the idea.
Why is anyone taking Kanye West seriously? That's the question.
Yeah, like he in the middle of a telethon.
I think I got it.
With Mike Myers beside him, stopped to say George Bush hates black people. That was like everybody's first introduction. And that was 15, 20 years ago. That was so long. So
That's true.
Like if you thought from that moment on that you were going to get anything but crazy from Kanye,
Seriously.
that's on you.
Okay.
Like that's your mistake.
Maybe do you think he switched recently into presenting himself like he was some kind of a serious thinker?
I don't think anybody makes it through the Kardashian machine.
Yeah. They churn him out, right? That's a meat grinder.
Legitimately.
Who've they eaten? They ate Bruce Jenner. He's now Kylie.
Yes, no, Caitlyn. But also all of the girls, the Jenner and Kardashian girls, all of those are mediocre looking people who got turned into this crazy, extreme Instagram filter version of a pretty person. All of them. Like, if you look at all of their childhood photos, they don't even look like the same person. It's not like, you had a little Botox. No, like, they got their faces recreated.
Yeah, so
that's fucking weird.
That is weird, dude, that
that's
you can
weird
even do
as
it.
Fuck. But also, there's like a crazy matriarch who's in charge, like, and who, like, clearly she's not mentally well.
Is she not?
Like, I mean, how could you be? Her first husband,
totally.
All of the shit that went on with the OJ case, and then
wait, I don't know this. You got to fill me in.
Oh, so the Kardashian name comes from her first husband, who she had the older girls with, who was
like Kim.
Yeah, Kim and Chloe and Courtney.
Let's talk about this.
So they all came from Kris Jenner and
the mom,
Robert Kardashian,
the husband.
Yes, who was
first husband,
the second to what was his name? The lead lawyer on the if glove doesn't fit, you cannot acquit on the OJ case.
I don't know his name, but I know the story.
Fuck, what was his name?
The name of the lawyer?
The
People
most famous lawyer that's ever been because of that case.
Should we chat GPT it? Let's do it.
Right? I feel so stupid not know. But anyway, Robert Kardashian was the second to him.
They're going to make me verify a human.
Right? Yeah, like Chat GPT can do a better job of getting through that than a person can.
All right, let's see what it says. Who is the lawyer that defended him? Johnny
Cochran. There it was. Yeah. Oh. So Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian were the two lawyers for OJ, right? So all of that craziness, and obviously Johnny Cochran got most of the press, but it wasn't great. But both of them, Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian, both died of heart attacks, like kind of young.
Mysteriously?
Not really, just like the stress of the job. You know what I'm saying? But like, they were in their late 40s or something like that. Like a little too early, especially for somebody with money and access to good health care to
But they put some miles on it.
For sure, right? So she dealt with that. Her first husband dies, and then she's raising these kids on her own, but she's got this money, and then she's also involved, like she's a socialite. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So she's in that world.
She's keeping
and
the
then
high
she meets
going.
an Olympic champion and marries him. But also apparently he like was cross-dressing and there were like in and outs of the transition to Caitlyn happening throughout the years. Yeah. So there was a lot going on, but also like,
and he was an Olympian.
Yes, he was
on the cover Olympian. Of Wheaties or something.
Like the Olympian at the time through the
in
80s.
The 70s,
like he was,
80s?
Yeah, he was like the biggest thing
cool.
as far as an American athlete. So, which is why it's so weird for the generation that grew up with him to see that he chose to become you know what I'm saying? Like that's why it's so weird for that whole, like they can't wrap their minds around it because he was the quintessential man. You know what I'm saying? But also you look back on him and you're like, was he with his pretty face and tight jawline? Like
I kind of see him on a cover of Wheaties.
Hair, like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was the prettiest of
Was he
boys,
like
always?
What compare him to Michael Phelps if you could?
Well, Michael Phelps is like all of the athletics, but none of the sex appeal, because that was the thing. He was a very attractive man as well as a very successful man athletically.
How do you think he looks as a woman?
like a 60-year-old man started becoming
like
a woman.
any 6-year-old person. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not great.
Well, you're 60.
But like, you didn't get to see what it would have like.
Score already.
Like, we don't know what hot young Caitlyn would have looked like. We have no idea. Like, but legitimately, if you pull up pictures, like, he probably would have been a hot young chick. For sure. Like, he had the bone structure and all that stuff. Anyway,
well, yeah, whatever.
But the whole Kardashian machine, because it's like, it's fame for the sake of fame.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it.
Well, Kylie made a makeup brand.
Yeah, she became a billionaire because...
Awesome. Well, that's just a cool thing, right?
It's not.
What, that you can even do it?
It's not, because
that it can even be done is hilarious.
It is hilarious. No, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's not good.
Well, it's probably not good for
it's
society.
Not good for...
It's not a good allocation of capital. Let's say that.
The economy, yeah. But also...
Or whatever. Maybe she does something cool with it.
For all of the people who grew up seeing that going... Oh, I can just do nothing and provide nothing to society and be rich and famous for it. Useless. It's like if you really break it down, those are useless people.
We're paying
who provide nothing to society.
Booties, first of all.
But now they're all getting them taken out.
No, like the Instagram content moderation knows no bounds. Like you can't say what can't you say? Like I don't know. I've never actually ran into it. I posted some crazy shit.
Things that'll get us kicked off of.
Yeah, like YouTube will build a way to auto censor this stuff, and people can opt in. Like it's obvious that like with machine learning, you're going to be able to like classify all of the content of a video very well.
Yeah,
and it'll make them searchable. Just like each thing, you could search a book. You should be able to search a video, and AI can help make that happen. But what were we talking about? Meat grinder of Kylie Jenner.
Yeah, just
the
idea of because social media ties into that because that's what it is. It's just the pursuit of fame for the sake of fame. It's like you're not bringing anything to the table.
Yeah,
you're not like I'm not afraid of fame or notoriety, but
they got to be bringing something to the table.
That to exist. Because I am so good at the thing that I do that people have to acknowledge that I exist. That's the only thing I'm interested in.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
And if that's not your baseline, like it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not good. Societally speaking.
Well, don't you think there should be something like you can't dispute it? About people like, oh, he's really good at fixing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It should be something that like, there's no denying. And that's
but with them, it's like her ability to manipulate camera angles and apply makeup.
Yes. And
she's really good at it.
Drama.
And create drama. So it's entertainment though.
And
it's a TV show.
The other thing, like, imagine like you look at every single relationship show, like any celebrity or whatever, or Housewives or anything where like your relationship became a show. None of those relationships make it. None. Zero of those relationships survive that experience.
They can't take the world's fucking boom.
Yes, but also at some point the cameras turn off. And you've spent more time being that version of yourself that you are for the camera.
Oh, how many versions of yourself do you think you have? Just one?
I mean, hopefully one.
I think everyone's a multiplicity.
Sure. Yeah, like different situations. But I'm talking about like for the camera. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you have a persona.
Like
and like, do you become your persona? Do you become the character that people draw of you?
And then
another thing.
Then there's no making it. The thing is, the Kardashians have been that for over a decade. So like none of those people are real people. And if you take somebody who's on the verge of instability and you put them in that, like somebody who's already experiencing a pretty crazy amount of, like Lamar Odom, one of the basketball players who did it, he was like suicidal and like he like after breaking up with one of the, and going through shit with the relationship, like it's not good for anybody. Legitimately,
that's what we were talking about in the beginning. Pressure can turn you on or it can crush you.
Yeah, but that level of pressure, I think, can only crush you.
Well, there's got to be some level that just crushes you.
Yes, and I think what they create in that household, family, etc., is that
Crushing pressure.
to the max.
Totally.
And
And
the other thing is
Jenner
they're all
and Kylie, Chris. Sorry,
Chris. Yeah, Chris is the mom.
no, who's not Bruce? Kylie. Caitlyn.
Yeah,
Oh my
Kylie is
God.
the lipstick.
I've confused myself.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's too many. It's too many people to know in one family.
And then what's the lawyer? Ronnie Coleman.
Robert Kardashian.
Oh, Robert Kardashian.
Yes. Yeah. And then Johnny Cochran.
And he died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a long history. Is there any deeper? How deep did they go?
I don't think so. I think that was the first.
And so how did he get off OJ? He was just like, he twisted his hand in a weird way and somehow people believed it. Like everyone thinks he killed her, right?
No. So OJ got off because of a combination of things. It was a perfect storm of, for the first time this country was actually addressing the reality of police brutality existing, but also especially it existing in a prejudiced manner.
Yeah.
And everybody had just watched the video of Rodney King getting the shit beat out of him by a circle of cops, right? So that was fresh. There were riots. Some of it was a political response to the reality of what was going on. But also, you had Johnny Cochran, who was a masterful storyteller and creative mind, bringing the opposition. And then you had three, I think it was like a new district attorney or like somebody who was trying to get in political office. So like the people bringing the case against him for the state were not good.
They were disorganized.
Yes. And also there was a lot of fuckery. So like some people covered up some shit and some evidence got dealt with in the wrong way. So like there was just, again, it was the perfect storm of.
So he definitely killed her.
Oh, 100%.
It's unquestionable.
Absolutely.
I'm going to remember it.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Two people. He murdered her and her
lover. Like the
who
guy
may
that
not even have been her lover.
Really? He was just hanging out?
He was a guy who worked. He was trying to be an actor, but was a waiter at a local restaurant. And that night, she had left a wall or something had been left at the restaurant, and they knew each other, but he literally was just bringing that.
Oh, that's crazy.
And OJ
shot him or
knifed them over and over
that
and
guy's
over
on
and
Twitter?
Over. He almost decapitated
Holy
the
shit,
guy.
what if he hears this? Let's maybe not talk about him.
He's in his 70s. I am
he
not
can wield a
worried
knife.
about OJ. Yeah,
Really?
no,
Okay.
OJ could get all of these hands. So
Don't
he literally was waiting in the bushes, and this guy comes to the house to give her the thing that she left at the restaurant, and he slaughters them both.
Oh my god!
Brutally,
with a knife.
Brutally, literally, he almost decapitated the guy. He
Whoa!
Fucking hacked it.
He's out in society.
Oh, yes. And the funniest part is
camps for those people.
The thing he actually went to jail for was somebody stole memorabilia of his from his house, and then he went to steal it back. But he brought a bunch of people, and they had guns.
And he was famous at the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so he was a super
maybe
famous
that's
football
like
player.
the crushing.
That's where
maybe so do people change, or is he crazy? Maybe he really did get crushed in the same way as Bruce Jenner killed somebody, and then now is
well. I mean, he was a running back, a football
but
player.
he had the same thing where he had an accidental death. Well, that was a not accidental death.
For sure, his brain is you know what I'm saying? He's got CTE, all of the shit. He had multiple concussions. He's fucked in the head for sure.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And most of those guys have violence issues. That happens. There's multiple guys in the NFL who have murdered people.
Is it okay that he's out? I guess it's fine.
Again,
It was a
now,
long time ago.
like when he got out, he was already in it because he got locked up for like 20 years. For the theft thing. So he shows up to the.
So they did end up getting O.J. Simpson in jail for like decades, but on a separate issue.
Else.
Okay,
something
so
else
justice was served in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He so again, he broke into somebody's house to steal his stuff back.
That's fair.
Brought guns, held them hostage. So he ended up going to jail for like like a bunch of shit. But literally
totally
what it was
crazy.
is if he was not a murderer who got away with murder, that case goes very differently, right? Like even given the extremity of it, like you go to steal something back that somebody stole from you, like there's a little bit of leeway you get for that, but not if you've gotten away with double homicide.
Yeah.
Then it's like this one,
technicality or
we're
whatever.
getting you on this one. Yeah. And again, everybody knew the system knew that he got away with murder. Every single person who watched what happened knew that he got away with murder.
Oh, that's fair then.
He knew that he got away with murder. He literally wrote a book about the murder.
I've heard about him forever.
It's insane.
All I ever heard was
truly insane.
Orange juice.
Yeah, Juice.
Juice. Yeah. Is he Juice?
That was his nickname. Yeah, on the football field. Yeah, Juice.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Juice. Fucking, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was nuts.
Okay, so we got him in the meat grinder of the Jenners. And
yeah, it's all weird. Like there's lots of weird connected shit, but that's money and fame and Hollywood and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so that grinds you. Yeah.
He was deeply connected to the Hollywood scene and money, but also the police. Like the police had been called to the house multiple times because he beat the shit out of that woman several times before that.
So he had a total history of violence.
Oh my God, yes. Not just violence, but specifically with her. Like, yeah.
And not Johnny Cochran, Ronnie Kardashian.
No, Johnny Cochran. Ronnie Coleman is a former world champion bodybuilder.
Oh, cool.
Different.
But who's a Kardashian? Robert Kardashian?
Robert Kardashian, correct.
He came up with some story for what was his side? He came up with the story for the defense against O.J. Simpson.
Yeah. I don't know what their roles were necessarily. Johnny Cochran was definitely the face. He was the one who was doing most of the speaking.
But he was like heavily involved, and then
but yeah, Robert Kardashian was like,
and then she remarried Bruce Jenner
after he died. She married Bruce,
and he became a woman some years after.
Yes,
and yeah, that family has some crazy dark history.
Yes, yeah. There's nobody has come out the other side positively.
That's probably every. Like that's the difference between them and every other family is like if you put the lens real deep on any family, you're going to see some dark shit.
Not that level though. No, that's special.
Yeah, but I think it's exacerbated by.
But that's why they're famous because they're so nuts.
Yeah,
that's why nobody can look away because their entire existence is a train wreck.
I mean, it's hard. Is it a train wreck?
Yes. How could it not be?
I don't think they're I think they're enjoying it.
But how well mentally adjusted could you possibly be?
How well do you want to be?
If your entire existence was based on a farce. And like you think about people who get wealthy and famous for a legitimate reason, like they actually earned it. They had a talent that they
built something or did something.
They put in the work to be the best at something, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Those people deal with the crushing reality of fame and people's expectations and all of that stuff. Imagine how much more if it's hollow. It's based on nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't even have the what
do you think the other ones are based on?
Can at least be like,
but
I did this better than anybody. Like it's proven, it's on the books. I did this better than anybody else. But you're like, what did you do? Nothing.
Yeah, what did you do?
Not a goddamn thing. You didn't bring anything to the table. And for a decade, that was
the Kardashians.
Good enough.
Well, they brought drama, entertainment.
Yeah, I guess. But it's like,
and what's the difference between them and a bunch of writers?
A skill, a level of talent.
I don't know. It seems like something you'd see on reality TV.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's all garbage too.
It is, but people are entertained by it
it's
for
got
whatever
some
reason.
value because yes, it does provide entertainment, and like we're simple creatures. We require, you know what I'm saying? We require some
I think we also just like stories,
dumb
like we like, following a journey.
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
problem is people are also very much mirrors.
Yeah.
And so when something like that is projected everywhere as like a reality, that fucks with people's brains, especially developing young people who that in their mind becomes a normal thing.
Maybe that's progress. Like
it's progress, like from the stance of like movement in a direction, but I don't know if it's
not good progress.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yes.
Well, what is the progress? What's the
society
direction?
is moving
like what's
in
the
a direction
destination
because
of that direction?
I don't know. But again, like, why do I get to say? You know what I'm saying? Like,
why wouldn't you?
I'm not going to be here when ultimately the true end result of what this world is based on people who grew up.
None of us. We're all going to be cyborgs.
Yeah,
we're going to get Neuralinked, jacked into the Matrix.
Yeah. Who knows, man?
Don't
I don't
think?
know. Again, because like we were talking about earlier, it's garbage. Like AI is not good.
It's pretty good. It knew who Johnny Cochran was.
Yeah, because somebody told it that.
Well, yeah, but still, you could just ask it. Like
That's like saying this piece of paper is amazing because the stuff I wrote down on it is written down on it.
Well, it's amazing if you have no paper, or like
it's a
how
tool.
else would
It's a thing.
I mean, you can
exists.
Google that same query into Google for sure and get the same result.
Yeah.
But the difference is now a context is built and you can ask additional questions, like if we have any.
Sure,
What's the question?
but that existed before.
Yeah, but you used to have to search and digest and read and consume, and now you just get answers.
Yeah, I know, and that's worse.
If assuming they're inaccurate.
But no, just in general.
Oh wait,
Like,
why? Because you should have to like challenge.
yes,
the
there
research
should that should be part of the process. Like it's not good for our brains, but it's also not good for the fact that once that becomes the standard and people stop even doing the little bit of research they do now when they Google something,
gotta be the standard.
then somebody gets to control because
bias.
artificial intelligence is a misnomer. There is no such thing as artificial intelligence.
Only.
No, there is no intelligence.
What is it?
It is just a repetition. Computers only compute. They take what is given to them.
But what's the difference between that and eyeballs?
Because they're connected to like I have control.
Or a brain, or like a system within the brain.
I'm in control of what I see.
Well, but there's also autonomic processes that are out of control. So you're like part of an automated system, but you can't control everything.
But you can.
Well, through breathing and stuff.
Yeah, you can control all of
things,
those
but you
systems.
can't like force yourself to like digest something or not digest something.
I don't know.
That'd be cool if you could.
I don't know. Maybe if somebody dedicated their life to like
a monk
feeling the individual.
I'm sure there's limits.
But either way, the point is it has no control.
Well, it's just a machine.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It is just a machine.
Yeah.
So ultimately, a machine is only ever.
It's a UI. It's like an interface.
It's just the creation of whoever designed it and is in control of it.
Well, and it's going to be changing real time forever.
Yeah, but the problem is it won't ever be.
What if it does?
The singular, but because that's not real.
Okay, I was kind of thinking that too until I met ChatGPT. I've been talking to it a lot. And one of the things that I keep coming back to is like, what is the difference between something that can mimic something and it being capable of the same outputs? I don't know. Like basically what explains the human phenomena relative to other animals on Earth, relative to rocks and then stars and energy and
why don't
matter?
you have a conversation with an empty chair?
Well, why can't you talk to any other matter in the universe except for humans?
You can, but there's no value to it. You wouldn't have a podcast with this chair without a person in it.
Yeah.
Because consciousness needs to be
that I think is a big part of
consciousness.
Exactly. It needs to be experienced by two at the same time.
Verified by you.
Yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, it's
100%.
not real.
But so it is getting verified all the time, though.
But
it's always getting
there
feedback.
Is no consciousness.
Exactly. Right now, today.
But it can't But that's the thing. That can't
But what if you have this
that.
idea of emergent properties, which are somehow a system? Let's ask OpenAI.
Also, the real issue is
What is an emergent property?
that's owned by Microsoft.
It's a character. Let me get this closer.
And
it is owned by
100%
Microsoft.
of what Microsoft has done for the last...
It's not. It's owned by OpenAI.
No, OpenAI is owned by Microsoft.
No, I think they have an investment.
No, they're owned. They are.
I think OpenAI is independent.
No, it's massive. I know they don't own 100%, but they are majority owned. They own it.
Over 50?
Yeah, I think it's 70% or something.
What? That'd be crazy.
No, they own it. Yeah, for sure. So.
Oh, that's crazy.
And there's,
that's
literally 100% of what Microsoft has done for its entire existence is create subpar products and force feed them to the market.
Well, they must have some use because they're used everywhere, or are they really good at marketing? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's garbage.
Let's hear what this is.
Why? That's why you're doing what you're doing right now with a MacBook.
What?
Because Microsoft doesn't make anything that can do what you're doing right now effectively, and they haven't been.
Well,
able
apparently
to
they do if they own OpenAI.
But no, I'm saying you're using you don't use a Windows-based machine to do this.
Oh, I'm in the ecosystem of Apple. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's because that product does what it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Windows is garbage and always has been.
I think so. But
Always.
I don't know. This one's easier. I got to read this. An emergent property is a characteristic or behavior of complex system that arises from the interactions of its parts. Okay, right. So with AI, it begins to develop multiple models, and you get the GPT model and the computer vision model, whatever the self-driving. And you get an image renderer and even a video, and you get all of these different types of models, and you get it multimodal, and you get these interactions within a model, but then you also get interactions between models. And in that interaction, I think exists an emergent behavior, an emergent property. And that's where I think you may be able to, it cannot be predicted or.
But that's what I'm saying. It is 100% predictable.
But what if it wasn't? What if? What if it started?
What if we were made of unicorn farts?
We'll find out. We'll find out. Yeah, I don't even think it has to be.
But what I'm saying is all of this is based on sci-fi. None of it's. There's no proof of concept. It's just a bunch of nerds.
Even if it doesn't have consciousness, it's a great tool.
Who are wishing it to be, and the problem is so much of tech. And you know this, you've been on the inside of the tech world. So much of the tech world is pretend all of this is working, and then when our customer tells us how broken it is, we sell them how broken it is a feature. That's literally the basis of tech, is to put out something that is broken and then convince you.
There's no way to create perfect software.
Sure there is.
No.
Not
maybe
put out
AI.
Garbage. Not have the
building tests
not have the goal be to get it out fastest and get it out to the most people.
Well,
for the goal to be to create a product that's worth putting out.
Well, kind of. There's the Zuckerberg philosophy of move fast and break shit, which they don't really follow anymore. Well, I guess he did. He did break shit.
Is garbage.
They broke $12 billion on the multiverse.
Yeah, that's why it's done so many awful things because of that model. Yes, that is a perfect example. They stole everybody's data and sold it to a shady fucking company. You know what I'm saying?
Did they really
all
sell
of the
it?
things that they've done? Yes, the whole Cambridge
what am I
Analytica
asking?
thing.
Yeah. It's a ridiculous question. That's what advertising is selling data. Yeah. And selling views and attention is what it really is.
But also training people, knowing, because it wasn't like the populace found out about how bad for you social media engagement was long after the companies who had created that atmosphere knew what the outcome was going to be and didn't care.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's there is like,
You have an incentive not to care. You have an incentive not to count bots and not to remove spam from the thing. First of all, if you really got rid of all your bots, which you should do ethically, then you're going to take a huge hit to your numbers. It's going to be a big hit.
Massive.
You know, I had this website back in the day, UI Faces. It's so stupid. But it was just a way that people could like add their face as an example avatar that other designers could use to use in their products. Because it was kind of always hard to find a human face, whatever. And whatever, I got a couple thousand people using it, maybe like 10,000, something like. It was like a known resource at the time. And but I had this little multiplier on the number of people who used it. I think it was like 25%. And I think everyone's kind of doing that in different ways. Yeah. But so like if you take out the bots and multiplier and you just go, whatever the real stats, then I do think you take a hit.
Yeah, but a hit that you should have, that, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's better to take the hit. Yeah.
It shouldn't have been like, your numbers should have never been inflated in the first place.
Well, that's what's crazy about multiples is like, if you get rid of multiples, like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. The whole system collapses for sure. Daily active users are always 100% made up numbers for sure.
Yeah. Like so people rely on the direction and the velocity rather than the actual
which number. Is why you can look at any account, like it doesn't matter if you look at an average 1 million follower account on any platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, especially TikTok. The number of engagements you have is not in line anywhere. Like you have 1 million followers and you put a post out and it gets 2,000 likes.
That seems like not possible.
But that's you know what I'm saying? Like that's the reality of it. It's not like nobody has 1 million followers and they put out a post and it gets 900,000 likes. It doesn't happen.
Wait, you mean it always gets 900,000?
No, never. No, that's what I'm saying. It's not like engagement numbers are never anywhere near what your followership is because most of that is fake in most cases.
Are you saying that like the content moderation policies are
I'll pull up. Let me see.
Really biased or something?
No, I'm saying most of the daily active users are bots. Most of them.
Oh, yeah. You think maybe not most, but like maybe like 20, 30%?
Oh, no, I think it's greater than that. I think it's 60 or 70%.
That'd be crazy. Crazy.
For sure. But you think about the reality of it. So like how many people can like actual, like things still have to happen. And like, granted, yes, we're all on our phones too much, but there's no way that people can be spending as much time on this 24/7 as a room full of 10,000 people in Bangladesh like tweet, comment for 8 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about
real bots are just like probably
generate.
Totally automated. Yeah, that's got to be true. Shit.
Nowhere close to.
Do you think that there are like bot farms that are trying to like manipulate people on Instagram?
Sure.
Yeah, that's got to be happening.
And a lot of it, I don't even think a lot of it is based on manipulation. A lot of it's just based on money.
Exactly.
Because you pay for that engagement. Yes. So literally, you think about that one room full of 1,000 people doing that for 8 hours. How many years would it take you to replicate that much engagement? A decade?
Yeah.
Of what they can do in a day, and they're doing that every single day.
What's your average screen time per day for Instagram? I'll tell you mine, 30 minutes.
I have a limit set to an hour. And some days I hit it.
That can't be right. I feel like I spend more than that. Maybe not. YouTube is, oh my God, over a week. I give a full 8 hours to Instagram. That's crazy.
Okay, so
I gave 20 hours to YouTube. That's not good.
Here's an example, right? So Bert Kreischer has 2.4 million followers on Instagram.
Okay.
His posts average 10,000 likes.
I have no point of comparison.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. If 1 million people supposedly follow him, right?
Yeah.
They've chosen because they like what he
But
puts
the algorithm
out.
is only going to surface what you like. You have to go into your feed and like purposely seek stuff out.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. If 2.4 million people have taken the time to follow him,
Yeah.
let's say half of those people are not real. Like let's say they're for the sake of argument, let's say all 2.4 million of those people are real.
Okay.
And let's say you got to argue half of those people are not everyday users, right? So even if you just take the remaining half, 1.2 million people, only 10,000 of 1.2 million people are seeing that.
Or liking it. Yeah, I can see. Well, 10,000. That doesn't sound real.
That's what I'm saying. That's 10. That's
but maybe
10%.
that account is inflated
That means
with bots.
but that's what I'm saying. They all are. That's the point. Bert Kreischer's huge. He sells out 10,000 seat auditoriums when he goes on his stand-up tours.
You can buy followers. I did that on TikTok
For sure. But that's what I'm saying. You're buying 1,000 followers on TikTok.
Well, you could just promote your content.
He's got
I guess you can't just buy followers, but I think actually you can just buy followers.
You can buy followers.
Yeah,
and
I've never done
buy
that.
Engagement
yeah,
as well.
You can promote your stuff.
sure.
But I think that's the opposite of the model you got. They need to be paying you for your content. Yeah.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. But that
It can't work otherwise.
that can drive. The idea is that drives your content further out to more real people who will see it, like it, engage with it, etc.
I think you have to build like
Which, I don't know.
organic channels to this kind of stuff.
Some of it, but like, I don't know. I think it's all very inflated. I think it, but because just like that number, like if you're telling me 1 million people should have that coming through their feed at some point, and only 10,000 of them like it,
Then it probably
those
is
numbers
inflated
don't
with
make
bots.
sense at all.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that just doesn't. But even like, even on Twitter, Elon Musk has like 110, 120 million followers, and he puts out a post and it gets liked by maybe 100,000 people.
Yeah, I don't know. We should
But
have
that's
just like a way to
still
gauge it. There should be like an
1%
accuracy.
engagement. That's insane. You know what I'm saying?
Shouldn't
like
it be pretty easy to see if the engagement is like inflated from bots or whatever?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Or
but the
an
problem
account
is,
would be, how does that work?
like you were saying, the bots count for your money generated. So like,
Not really. So like I have this TikTok account that has like 40K, but I
I'm
post
saying
something and
for
it
the
gets
platform.
200 likes.
For the platform itself.
Views. I mean, sometimes it gets more.
so like for TikTok, well, I guess they don't sell ads on TikTok, but for Instagram, the money they charge for people to put ads on Instagram is based directly on the engagement that they can claim that you will get because of it, right?
Yeah, but that's fake. That's
So
fake engagement.
It is. But the whole point is, if Instagram, it is not in their best interest to have a system that accurately detects whether or not there are bots.
Yeah, I agree.
So who else is testing it? If it can't be tested, nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like if the internal machine isn't keeping track of that and blocking it, it's not being done. But it is literally not good for them monetarily to do that. So
Well, maybe it is good for them monetarily to do that
But it's not.
in the longest of terms.
But none of them are thinking along to that, and that's the whole thing with tech. It's all built on right now. That's
Next
why
quarter.
that's why
You're actually
it will
behind from the previous
eventually
quarter.
fall apart. Like
Well, they make a lot of money.
it's
They do make a lot of
sure,
money.
but they spend just as much as they make.
Yeah, but you can always just stop spending. Like if you have to.
Corporations?
Yeah.
When has it happened?
Google laid off 12,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right after giving all of their executives the biggest executive
That's
bonus
how it works.
package that's ever been
You got to
given.
rise in the ranks of
So
the city.
they can't stop spending money. They literally had to fire people and did so after 3 of the most profitable years that they've ever seen in their existence. They laid off 10% of their workforce.
Yeah. Well, they also hired a bunch of people. They grew tremendously during the pandemic.
Not equivalent to the amount of money they made. Not even close.
That's because that never works. Like hiring more people. You're trying to grow your city. It's cool. You want to grow it always. That's what a company in my mind is like a city. It's a collection of people. They're all like living under the same kind of government.
Until the infrastructure falls apart.
Yeah.
Because you grew
Well, we see that happen all the time.
That's what corporations end up doing is they end up which is why we get bigger and bigger single corporations, because they have to get swallowed up by another machine because it stops working. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why the government has to bail out all of these businesses, because
I don't think
they mismanage all of their money, and it gets to the point where it's like, well, if this business fails, 100,000 people are out of jobs, so that means we have to write some tax bill that gives them $2 trillion.
I don't even think that's real at all. I think that's total corruption. Yeah. Like there's no reason to for the government to bail out private companies. Let them sell for parts.
Yeah, well, I think that's the right answer to a point. But like legitimately, like if Google had to shut its doors tomorrow,
that could never happen. It provides so much value.
It absolutely could happen.
How?
For sure. Like it would be very easy.
Isn't their free cash flow like tremendous?
Yeah, but again, it's like money's going out just as fast as it's coming in.
But I think they generate like a crazy amount. I mean, their quarterly earnings
hundreds
just
of
came out.
billions of dollars, for sure. But the Google stock price,
$7.3 billion. That's kind of crazy. Oh wait, that's just cloud revenue.
over the last year, the Google stock price dropped by 50%.
Let's see if GPT can get it. Oh wait, no, it doesn't have the up to date. Anyway, they have a ton of cash. They have a ton of cash coming in the door through YouTube and search and everything.
Ad revenue is most of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, Snapchat, $4 billion. Like that's crazy revenue. $4 billion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like these companies have tremendous value.
Yeah, but it's all inflated.
Is it because they were just all of the prices collapsed? Like Google's down 40, Snap's down like 80, 90, depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They just fired 10% of their workforce.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, why not? I mean, they have to have a response to the government. So the government is raising interest rates. Everything gets more expensive. The private companies have to have some way to signal.
If you're making more money and you have more money and you're simultaneously firing 10% of your workforce.
Everyone's making more money that didn't get fired.
No, they're not.
Well, I mean,
none of the regular employees. Sure.
Well, I do think advertising revenue is down.
Small percentage of the executives at the top are making more money.
Yeah.
But that is why there's money issues, because they're all keeping. But I think
that is the whole incentive for people to stay at those companies, is because that you have a chance at that, level of earning. And it's capitalism. That's capitalism. So like they have this product that they're offering. It has its benefits, its detriments. Like they should always, of course, be better at like doing things. But generally, I think that the people that keep those are right. So they're going to have their incentives, which are like, how do you actually incentivize somebody?
Some of them are going to be fucking morons.
Yeah, sure. That's going to happen everywhere.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is it's just people. And people fuck up, people fail, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a bigger, more extreme version of that. So like the machine keeps going because of the extreme momentum of the machine moving.
Yeah.
But
that's like the whole value is like the momentum of it.
Sure, but if like if a race car hits a very small hard object going 200 miles an hour, it disintegrates.
But like I don't know. I don't think they're as delicate as race cars.
Oh, I think it is.
Like, what would make people stop using Snapchat? Do you think it's a utility? People like it to message, and they have a certain network on it.
Oh, I don't know necessarily that people would stop using it. That's rarely the issue. Is that the product stops being used? What's like people still went into Sears all the time.
But that's like
the problem was
business
the
that
people
doesn't
who
work
were
for
in
the
charge
future.
of managing the company mismanaged the money because there's people.
But if there's always more money coming in, then you just downsize until you meet the
to a point. But there's all like if you have a market cap that's a very large percentage, you can only downsize so much before somebody else is going to come in and swallow all. Like the teetering effect of like Walmart is what it is in part because
of its availability.
Well, but also because they actively take out competition.
Yeah.
And so like if you're actively trying to eliminate anybody who could ever like that works as an approach, but if you ever lose that fight,
yeah.
Like now they're grasping at straws to try to get back the market share that Amazon took, and they'll never get it back.
Well, that's why I think it's important to just build the best product you possibly can.
Yes.
And then you don't have to fight. You're just cruising. Mm-hmm. And then everyone else is playing catch up. That's what Tesla did. That's what Tesla did.
Yeah, but also that's why Amazon has the success that it has now. Because it was just somebody was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this was a better, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody wanted to go into a bookstore and, sit for hours, you know what I'm saying? Like that whole thing had lost its luster. And so somebody was like, what if we could just sell books online? And they built such a good marketplace for doing that people were like, well, why don't we just sell everything on there?
Yeah.
So just naturally and then somewhere along the way they were like, well, what if we sucker the US government into delivering our packages for free? And it all along the way there were innovations.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can be sure somebody had some information on a senator or paid somebody or whatever. But yeah,
well, maybe it's good that these corporations and the government can network together and create these kind of partnerships. Like one way to look at it is as corruption and another is as a partnership. But here's one idea I keep having and have had for like a long time now. Is like, it is kind of crazy that there's 50 or 100 senators. I don't know why I can't say it. Senators out there, and House of Reps. There's like, what is there? Like 356 something. Who knows?
Fuckload. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Why isn't there like millions? Why isn't there millions in an automated system, a voting app? Seriously. Like, what if you, instead of the whole government, just had a voting app? Like, what if you just took out your app Tinder style and were just like, yes, 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 no, fucking no.
Yeah, like every day you have 10 things that are on your docket, and before you can do anything on your phone, you have to vote on those 10 things.
Not even that. Just like if you want to be a voting member of society.
The only way for that to work is if you had full engagement.
Right. So like you create a fun experience of voting and you get everyone to vote on the things that they care about. Yeah.
But ultimately, who determines what we're voting on?
The government.
Yeah, exactly. You still have to have a system.
You're still in the system. Well, you can't break out of the system.
Here's the thing. Anarchy is rule by the people is the best on paper idea. The reality where you have to involve actual people is the problem. So like the government is a very flawed system for sure. But if you if you start dismantling that system, what you're left with is way worse. People descend.
Oh,
into
I
chaos.
totally agree.
People descend into chaos quick.
Yeah. It's scary. It's scary.
Was one day, so when I pick up my daughter from school, the car line goes as follows. All the people funnel in. There's 3 lanes, right? So everybody comes in from the street into the 3 lanes, and then those 3 lanes go to like it goes around the parking lot, and then at the end of it, where you start to like pull up to actually pick up your kid, it funnels back into one car at a time, right? So
it's a disaster.
So a reverse bottleneck and then a bottleneck, right? Literally, the whole system is 2, like one at this end, 2 middle-aged teachers.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, right?
They want it to be bad.
And this system works flawlessly every single day. Flawless.
Is it fast and efficient?
It's quick.
Really? The bottleneck isn't a problem?
It's amazing.
Really?
Yes, it works so well.
Wow. Okay.
There was one day where the cold was so much that they couldn't be out there. And all of these people, and it was last year, and it was about this time of the year, right? So we're like 3/4 of the way through the school year. Nobody's in this line for the first time. All of us have been doing this, most of us for several years with our kids, but at the very least, you've been doing it for most of this school year. And absolute fucking chaos. People cutting each other off, honking at each other. You all know how this works. It has worked the same way. And literally, you take the most minute part of the system out.
Yeah, the 2 workers or whatever.
Who, like, not armed guards, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not
It's
giant,
crazy that don't you want to just do a Chick-fil-A line?
right? Yeah,
Get like your kid out.
But
like,
it's so fucking simple, and nobody could handle it because you take away that. So like,
well, who was even making the decision then?
if
like,
you take away government, what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
There's
no,
too many
government's
people.
great. Government's great, but like I think
for the system that exists, yeah, I don't know.
or like law
to your point,
enforcement or whatever, like creating new laws, removing old ones, voting in general should be democratized. Oh, what a great idea!
Yes, the more I agree with the sentiment that the more people you involve, the better. The problem is, anytime you automate a system, you have all you've done. You haven't eliminated human interaction with the system or human ability to manipulate it. You've just shrunk the list of people who can do that to the smallest denominator. So you better hope that none of them have a bias or an agenda, which
all of them do.
or they're very easily manipulated by somebody who does. Because there's a list of those people. So if I want the laws to change, now I know there's an even shorter, instead of convincing senators that, you know what I'm saying, people who have money and power and influence and also a public face, so they have to deal with it if they do something that pisses people off. And now you've just got a couple of engineers who can change the code. That's real easy for me to manipulate.
Yeah, like
Real
who
easy.
controls the system, just make it public as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just like make everything open source. Anyone can audit it. Anyone can look at all the transparent numbers.
Educate the entire populace on how that works.
Yeah, you just make it
Like people have to be able to understand code the way we read.
But people do. Yeah, you have all these engineers. They would just be looking for something to do, you know? For real.
But most people don't read code the way that they read language.
But I think enough people do that it wouldn't be a problem to get
It's not as big of a list as you think.
Well, it's got to be like hundreds of thousands.
Sure, but out of the hundreds of millions.
Well, yeah, but of the hundreds of thousands, how many of them would participate in a voting system that was generally available and generally and widely used?
Sure.
Probably all of them. Or not all of them, but like, 10, 20%. But like a lot of them.
If you extrapolate that out,
like a lot would.
When the world was in a position where only 10% of the populace could read and write, was that good for the rest of them?
Yeah. Well, to get
No,
more
it was
people
real
reading
bad.
and writing, or what?
No, I'm saying when only 10%, when only people who were wealthy and in positions of power knew how to read and write, was that good?
No. Yeah, you want to make it generally available.
So that's what I'm saying. So in order for that to work, people have to understand coding at the same rate that they understand language now for that to be a fair system. So I agree with you, but there's a lot of you know what I'm saying? So like kids are going to have to learn coding alongside English.
Totally. Yeah,
so
that should happen.
that's just a open bar that everybody like,
there should be a general language.
Reading and writing, some people suck
we're
at
far
reading
from
and writing, but like you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like there's very few people who like can't read or write at all. Like they may have shitty handwriting and it may take them a while to read a book.
That's crazy.
But there's not really anybody who in
you're saying
society,
there's not anyone who can't read and write at all. Yeah, totally.
There's very few.
Because
so until we get
everyone
to that
can do
point
it
with
for
coding,
sure.
that system is still fallible, but I think we could get there. But it would require that as well.
It would be cool to get it more creative so that it didn't have to be so complicated with all the jargon. And you could get this really simple, easy interface and just describe logic, because that's all coding is. It's logic. Yeah. If this, then that. What is logic?
Yeah.
If you could think rationally, obviously everyone can think rationally. So you just, what is the sequence? What are the steps? How often to repeat it?
Yeah.
And then anyway, it gets very complicated very quickly, but at its simplest level, it's just how do you create logic, rules around logic, a framework of logic.
Yeah, if there were as many coding languages as there are languages, that would be a very good thing.
I think the opposite. I think there should be one language, one universal language that does everything.
I think universal connectivity, sure, but I think it's the more of that exists, the better that it is.
Well, I think it's always happening. Like languages are always developing.
Yes.
And it's always getting easier and easier to code.
Yeah.
And so like one day it really is going to be so easy that anyone can just describe in general, take this Squarespace website and adapt it to be this like psychedelic trip or whatever. And then it comes out with something really cool that you like. And then people will know how to open it up and to run like diagnostics and change things and put in their preferences.
Well, but also just to be able to read like what's really there. Like when you look at a website.
Yeah, to be able to understand the system entirely.
Yeah, to be able to truly know what the inner workings are and how, like you said, to be able to have a system where anybody can make changes and edits and stuff like that. Like that needs to be a system where anybody can understand what's happening on all sides. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, democratize it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's there's I don't know, it's too easy to see all good or all bad in anything. So like if you're selling it, it's all good. If it's if you don't
just
understand
taking one perspective,
or if it's replacing something that you're comfortable with and aren't comfortable with being replaced, it seems all bad. But most things are neither all good or all bad. Most things have a pretty even mix of like pros
generally
and
in the middle.
Yeah. So it's all, I don't know, man. I think there's an inevitability to some things that you just have to accept. So whether or not you like where things are going or what is happening, there's some level where you have to be like, well, that's just gonna be a thing that humanity has to figure out.
Is what in particular?
I mean, advancements in technology and everything else, but also like things like when, because to your point, like Google will never crash. Like I promise you, there were 0 people in this country 40 years ago that believed Sears and Roebuck was ever not going to be the biggest thing that's ever been. And they were all wrong. So like Google exists now, but it won't always. There will be a point where technology, and there will be a point where Like we're gonna hit a massive drawback. Like there's always ebbs and flows, and we've been running for like 100 years, the world in general, on like an economic uptrend. That cannot continue.
Oh,
forever.
dude, that's going to accelerate forever. That's the craziest thing. That's the Womp hockey stick or the exponent.
No,
of
there's going to be a
exponential
massive
growth.
crash.
No, way. We already just had the crash.
No.
Well, I'm ready for it.
We have not had anything. Nothing. We have not experienced anything.
Yeah.
Right
I don't know.
now, we just have really
prepare.
big buckets scooping the water out. That's all that's happening.
Well, what do you think is going to happen?
There is it'll be similar to the crash that happened in the like early 1920s, like that. That's very predictable.
We had a crash, I think, faster than the 2000s. You think it's going to like some? Well, what's going to spark it? Like, what would change?
Oh, I mean, there's going to be there will be another world scale war for sure. There will be an economic collapse. Like all of these things are cyclical.
But we just had an economic collapse.
No, we didn't. No, we had an economic blip. We didn't. We haven't had no like.
I don't know. I think things were down like quite a bit.
Yeah, no, people's Bitcoin accounts were down.
But I think the S&P,
there weren't millions
all the
of
major
people
indices,
lined up
even the
for
Dow
a bowl of
Jones.
soup because they.
But how could that happen when you have the growth and tailwind of technology? Like we are the benefit of so much technology that we're always improving and evolving.
Yeah, and that was true 100 years ago and 1,000 years ago.
But those time horizons were not split as frequently as they are now. Like 1,000 years ago, your life was the same as your parents, and your children's children would live exactly as you. All your generations would live the same, is the point of that. Now, like generations went from like, you can move to the city, and then, oh, there's newspaper. Oh, like there's the internet. Oh, there's all of like this global connectivity that is.
Yeah, but all that's going to do is accelerate the crash.
But in that growth of technology,
ebbs and flows aren't.
You have cost efficiencies.
Ebbs and flows are just the reality of like there is feast and there is famine.
I agree with that.
It's just built into. It's necessary because ultimately growth can only push as far as there is incentive for growth. And we're already reaching the point to like what you were saying earlier, we're already reaching the point where like life is already so assisted. It's so like most people don't. Why do you think it was so easy for a sizable chunk of our population to just go on unemployment during the pandemic?
Because we have so much shit that we could just like print money or whatever.
Yeah, and we have so little to give a fuck about and so little to like.
No, I think like Apple makes a bunch of stuff. So does Tesla. We export brands and culture and media and songs and movies, and it's all fucking dope. And we're the best at it in the world for sure. Immeasurably,
but everybody
accurate.
Everybody is miserable.
Well, we do have too much comforts. I think.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. The advancement can only be driven by the need for it.
Yeah,
we don't need anything new. Like think about every year. Think about every year when the new iPhone comes out.
Yeah, we need it,
and it's exactly the same as the one before it, and the one that'll come out.
Well,
next
somebody
year.
should. But how would you evolve the iPhone? It's like it's a finished product. Just make the specs better.
Exactly. So eventually, people are going to stop buying it.
Maybe,
and they already have. Like the numbers of people purchasing the new product, it was like up, and it plateaued.
It depends on what kind of experiences they can create. It's about the platform that they can create.
Sure, but what I'm saying, ultimately, there's a law of diminishing returns. Like you cannot move upward forever.
I think as a species we can at the species level because of the growth of technology.
Overall, like yes, from the beginning to the end of the species, it is an overall upward trend. But there are massive dips and back up. And all I'm saying is we're headed for a massive dip.
But wouldn't you imagine that you'd have less and less dips as you are able to automate and create redundancy in the ways that you provide the necessities of life, like creating bread? The cost of bread always goes down.
No, because there's what drives those things is often stuff that we can't control. So like a natural disaster.
Yeah.
Like
that would set us back for sure.
Like we haven't, like there's a possibility that like the earth warms to the point that crops stop growing you know what I'm saying? Like there's a possibility of the world changing like it has many times in a way that affects.
That's true.
Like there's been decade-long global famines.
But I think we're way better solving problems now. And I think that we are globally connected, and that connection will only increase.
Way better
even if there was like problems. A dystopia where like we got like hit by an asteroid or whatever, and like a lot of the world had to go underground, we would still retain our connections, which I think are the most valuable part of society.
Yeah. The reason that
it's what allows for the growth of knowledge, ideas, information, and technology is our interoperability with everything around us.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm not saying that there's we're headed, like we're close to the end of civilization.
I just think you'll always get programmers. They're always going to keep coding.
I think that we are, and this is just like mathematically speaking, like every so often, like every 10 to 20 or whatever it is, like there's a certain amount of time that roughly that amount of time something happens
but even if that did
wipes
happen,
out a massive portion of the population, and completely rewrites the reality of the world. And I don't.
But there, like, do you think there's like an extinction event, or like even if we got set back? Well, for humanity, that would be hard. We should deal with that, right? We should be building the technological defenses against asteroids. And here's the thing I think about: what if there was a black hole traveling at the speed of light that was on a collision course with Earth? And then we just get like these asteroids thrown at us and like we can't explain it, but we look and we see it. It's like we have 1,000,000 years or whatever. Like, what the fuck do you do?
Well, I mean, we're kind of like the sun will explode.
Right. But like what if there was like a threat you could see through space?
There is one that we know that's like right in front of it. Like eventually this planet will.
Yeah. 4 billion seems like we got time.
It does. But also like, what if that calculation is way wrong?
That's true.
What if it's 4 million? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if somebody did a decimal wrong?
Or what if something about the sun suddenly changed?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. What if, like you said, something large enough to collide with the sun happens that causes.
But I think actually we have a pretty good idea
flare.
Of the
other
physics.
Thing is, the sun could literally have a flare that generates an EMP that wipes out every single electronic device on this planet.
Yeah.
That's a possible thing that could just happen.
But will happen. It will happen.
Eventually, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But
we know like, that that's a regular event to the sun.
Yeah.
It's like massive EMP storms from solar waves.
And there's not shit we can do about that. Nothing.
Well, we can. I think, Faraday cages or whatever.
There's ways to insulate on some, but if that wave of radiation is strong enough, there's nothing that we can do to stop it.
Well, it could wipe out life, you mean?
No, I'm just saying for like a Faraday cage, like it's a barrier, but it has a limitation, right?
Yeah, I don't understand the.
So it can just like anything, like a piece of armor can stop a bullet, but if I shoot enough bullets at it, I will break it down and get through. I don't know.
I don't understand the physics exactly of it.
And it is blocking the radiation, but a strong enough wave of that EMP could get through the particles.
But that's like one of a million things that could kill us.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's all kinds of things like that we have no way of timing or you think about how
we only
often
know about 1% of the things that could kill us. Like 99% of the stuff that can kill us, we just don't know about it.
We could find out that this planet is 1 degree away from getting warm enough for a super bug to come from Antarctica that's lived there for a million
that would
years
be fucking
that could just
awesome.
wipe out
I want that one to
90% of the population. We have no, you know what I'm saying? We have no fucking
I thought
idea.
you meant like an actual like monster, but that'd be crazy.
Or also, fucking who knows? Yeah, also like maybe there's a sea monster down there that fucking unfreezes and starts having babies that eat whole planet. Like who knows? Who fucking knows? There's all kinds of shit, right? So not whole planets, but whole cities, whatever. Yeah. So Godzilla comes out of the water, and we're like, they're like, we told you, and that's the other thing. Like, how many of the crazy things that we've written off as just like lore from back then was like
real shit,
some shit that happened.
Yeah.
And that's the only way they could communicate it in writing and pictures and whatever in a way to try to make us understand.
Well, why it probably is some shit that happened, and that's why we wrote it down.
Yeah, for sure. And like it got lost in translation, you know what I'm saying? But again, to that point, like the idea that Google is going to last forever, like there's whole civilizations that were the biggest, most important civilization on the planet that are gone and we know nothing about.
But we have so much momentum as a species. This is like
just
the thing
like
that
all of them did. All empires fall. All of them. For always.
I don't know.
There's
if
there's no
always
getting
will be that
around
way.
it.
I don't know if it always will be that way. I think that the less corruption.
But that is what every single civilization that is right on the cusp of that always believes, that like it'll never happen to us. That's which is probably why it happens, because you get to that point where you're so cocky that you think nothing can take you out.
Well, that's like an invitation.
The idiot fucking captain of the Titanic who's
You're
like,
literally
even God
asking
can't
for
sink
it.
us, and then it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you should have just kept your mouth shut. Like there's always that moment, because humans are we're stupid. Like we're dumb animals.
Well,
we are.
That's true.
We're dumb animals that are conscious and that have figured out how to manipulate our environment, but we're fucking dumb animals.
We
really
have
are.
all of the instincts and requirements of an animal.
Yeah. And we revert to that far too easily. You take two middle-aged women out of the picture and we go right back to fucking animals in the jungle. You know what I'm saying?
But I do think,
we're all that close.
but you did get, I think here's two key events that separate us from animals. One, we fucking stood up on our hind legs, and that was a big move. And because it's so exposing, and that increases your vision. And now all of a sudden you're not looking at the ground, you're looking at the horizon. And so you're exposed, but you can see in the distance. Uh-huh. And that was a big one. And then I think language was big, and technology is language.
And consuming mushrooms.
I think all sorts of stuff had to influence. I don't know, stars and planets and like everything influences the alignment. The alignment, the
eating
evolution.
meat when we figured out how to fucking
like cooking meat.
Yeah, that changed everything.
Pre-digesting food, making it easier to digest and extract nutrients from food. Yeah. That's a big deal. That separates us from animals. Uh-huh. And so we've found all of these technological tricks that I think add a tailwind to the species, including cooking and language and all sorts of whatever. Technology is the big one recently. Yeah. And so now we have iPhones and Starlink and Neuralink and OpenAI. But even before that, we just have agriculture and the Industrial Revolution and whatever revolution we're in now. And we were talking about how the generations wouldn't change. You have generation after generation where the parents would always do the same thing as the children, who did the same thing as their grandparents, back and forth for generations. That is gone, and a new generation probably happens like we think every couple hundred years, right? Like at some point that's a new generation through history. But now a new generation is like, it's the 70s. The 80s are so different than 90s. What are you talking about? Like it takes thousands of years for things to change. Yeah. You're saying in a decade it's different. What if there's a new generation every year? What if it's every 3 months? What if things are just in constant change?
But it also isn't, because like even fashion trends, like people wear the same shit that they wore 30 years ago. People don't change that much.
Yeah.
Also, here's I think what is changing with technology advancing society now all of those things that we talked about, standing up on our evolutionary things, standing up on the hind legs, learning how to cook meat, consuming psychedelics, and expanding our creative ability to imagine.
And peyote and whatever.
All of those things were things that reduced the amount of time, stress, energy, etc. that humans had to spend on just surviving.
Exactly.
Which allowed us more time to think and create and imagine. The problem is technology now is taking away the need for you to think.
That's true.
So where does that leave humanity advancing forward?
A bunch of drones.
Yeah, that's not good. You know what I'm saying? That's not good that's great for the advancement of the technology. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe the answer is the technology is just going to fucking replace enough of us that or maybe
I think everyone will be augmented by the technology and some will use it.
Imbalance is like the technology gets to the point where jobs get eliminated because nobody needs them, and then people start starving and dying, and the population dwindles, and then that's the shift where it's like, oh, maybe this wasn't good, but then the technology is integrated into our existence to the point that we're like, it's difficult to disconnect. I don't know. Who knows where it's going to go? There's so many possibilities, and I've seen too many fucking movies that guessed, the Matrix and everything else, right?
Well,
right?
They're all like hinting at something. They're all like, who knows? Is it VR, the Matrix? I don't know. But we are going to augment ourselves with technology forever. Like, we're never going to stop. We're only going to accelerate. So even if we have a natural disaster, we still are going to remember JavaScript. Like, it's a thing we made just like yesterday. It didn't exist for all of time in history, and now it does.
Yes, but what version of it? So like
TypeScript, so whatever the latest.
So here's the thing though. That type of thing changes and get lost. Like there's languages that we have now that we have interpreted to the best of our understanding, because humans understand how language kind of works in general. There's a structure, right?
Yeah.
But there's whole civilizations that all of the people died, which means everybody who spoke the language didn't exist, which means we're guessing, which is why nobody speaks Latin, because we don't know how to speak it.
It's a dead language.
We know how to write it. Like, we know the characters, and somebody figured out the alphabet. So we were able to build, like, reverse engineer the language so we understand how the words fit together and what they mean. But nobody can speak it because all of the people who spoke it died and stopped being spoken.
Apparently all languages, or many Western, like a common set of languages, are built on Latin.
I think
it's Spanish, English, French, and German are all Latonic, maybe. I don't know. That's something else.
There's five
based on Latin.
So Portuguese is the other one.
And Portuguese. Yeah. And they're all based off of like the same structure. So there's a structure that people, but dude, even that is technology. So we have this whole tailwind in all these different ways. These tech companies are elaborating everything.
Sure.
And building new products all the time.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, just like that, I think there's a point where that all ends, and humans in the future will be reverse engineering what that was.
I can't imagine it.
Of course.
You're right. Like,
just like nobody can. That's
what should we do to prepare for it?
Nothing.
No, there's got to be something.
No.
Well, get some provisions.
No, it doesn't matter.
Security.
It doesn't matter, because it's going to happen. And most people,
if you knew what it was, you could prevent it.
No, but that's the thing. We've never been people thought they could prevent all of the other things.
Well, what if you increase your sensors and try to take in more information to understand the threats in your environment?
On almost a weekly basis, NASA will be like, oh shit, an asteroid just flew by that we didn't see coming.
Yeah, like we
and
should
was
build
just like
sensors
100 miles away.
where we can physically prove that the chance of an undetected asteroid is multiple zeros and then a 1.
But that's what I'm saying. The best that we're able to do is like, oh shit, we missed one.
Well, we just got started, you know.
We've been doing it for hundreds of years. And
space travel?
With the
No
best,
way.
not hundreds, was studying space for sure. Absolutely.
Studying space, but space travel is like decades, I think.
Travel, but what has
Maybe
improved? Space travel, I wouldn't argue hasn't accelerated our understanding of space as much as studying it has.
Well, it's hard to get out there, but
Sure.
if you can create a cost decline like they're doing with Starship, then it changes the equation.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because you can send up like modules, you can send up like housing,
And you can have stops along the way.
and
that changes
refueling
everything.
stations, and who knows what like things they might be able to create. But if you make something incredibly cheaper, that's a new platform for people to build on. So I do think we'll see space industry in our lifetime. Like on the moon, we'll see shit, and maybe even on Mars. And if we really get our shit together, we can build robots that can automate all this construction. And I think we can get really far automatically with AI and robotics.
Sure. But that, again, the further that progresses, the more it eliminates the need for this many people.
No, this many people just control more robots. Everyone needs to control thousands of robots.
For what?
I don't know, industry, whatever they do. Obviously, most people will be drones. But if you're not a drone, you're controlling robots for sure.
Sure, but how many people are already just drones? And
probably
there's
a lot,
more
I think.
moving in that direction.
Yeah, like, well, with, you mean social media and
world,
Instagram or
as
whatever?
much as it's a silly, overdone meme, the world is becoming more and more like a video game. Most people are NPCs.
What is that NPC?
An NPC in the video game world is a non-playable character.
But what does that mean, like, relative to people?
So in video game world, NPCs are the
They have like a scripted loop
pre-programmed-
dialogue.
Exactly.
And yeah.
And there can be updates to change, so they say new words and they have new phrases, but their interaction will always be a scripted thing. It will always be based on their preset input, and they have no value outside of
They're yeah, but what if
the simple
NPCs
task that they perform and the simple interactions they have with you.
Well, so
And I would argue most people are that. Most people's existence is
but isn't everyone like that?
going to their
How
trivial,
is
meaningless
that not everyone?
job,
You know?
not recognizing. The only difference is whether or not you. I'm not saying most people's existence, like all of our existence, isn't futile, because it is. Ultimately, we're all going to die, and we will make whatever impression we make on the world while we're here, and it will last for as long as it lasts.
Yeah,
we
but
control little to
As long
none
as a
of it.
fart in the room.
Yeah,
After you're dead.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, the
Totally.
greatest, most influential people of all time, the story we're telling of them isn't even the truth. It's the telephone version. Because people are terrible at keeping records. We're full of shit. We lie and we manipulate.
Yeah, there's always corruption.
And exactly, always.
Yeah.
So like, what we know about Genghis Khan is through the filter of bullshit of however long and however many people.
But I do think we're getting tools that make it easier to get more information and extract. Because here's the question:
But
what is
somebody
reality?
creates those
What is
tools.
reality? What is
and
it?
somebody teaches those tools how to come up with an answer, and there's bias based on them. Which is my argument with the ChatGPT thing. That was programmed to do a thing by a person. Or a bunch of people. And those people designed it to do that the way that it does it. And there may be many, many layers and filters of like redundancies and like let's try to make it as random as possible.
I think it's so natural
but
though.
Ultimately, their bias is built in,
and that is inevitable. Like the people that train it will introduce their bias. So AI will be biased towards humanity.
For sure.
So like whatever we are, AI is going to generally be.
Yes, it'll be biased towards,
which I think is a good thing actually.
But towards a very and that's why I was saying like it's dangerous that it's a small group of people that are generating that bias.
Yeah, we need to get more, but it's already happening. And these large models are going to get a 1,000 times bigger.
Sure. But the only way for that to really be a fair exchange is for the average person's interaction with that model to mean exactly the same as the head engineer's interaction with it.
Well,
and until that's true,
like how do they actually distribute AI is a open question.
Yeah, like once the AI starts training itself in a certain direction, there's still people who can change that direction. You know what I'm saying?
So but it's always going to be changing. Like they're going to be releasing new models, hopefully like by the month. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Sure. But again, all of those updates and all of those things are based on a direction that they want it to go.
But still, it's like the, what is that word for in like Thanksgiving, the cornucopia of all human knowledge. It's like this bounty gift and you can just reach into it and take things out. It's crazy how much
it's very interesting. The collection of information,
anything,
all of that, like
anything. And if you can ask, it's all about how you can prompt it. If you can ask refining questions, if you can kind of spot misinformation, then you can really improve the results. But anyway, point is, people are going to be able to educate themselves a lot through these Q&A, through these chat bots. I think people are going to use them a lot. And because this is the first version and like it could be so much better in so many ways.
Yeah. I think the danger is when people get to the point where they rely on that interaction over this interaction, I think that's not good. Also, I think when people get to the point where that is ultimate truth.
Well, that would be good if you had a verified check mark for like, this is known.
But that's what I'm saying. That can be manipulated.
Well, not really, because that one would have to be provable scientifically. Like you could have 1 + 1 equals 2.
What that is.
Just like what yes, you do need a central institution to make some decisions.
And can those people be manipulated?
Yeah, but I think generally you can catalog all of the
smaller you get a group.
Sciences.
Why is every corporation evil?
Why is every corporation evil?
Because eventually you get a board of directors, which is a bunch of old, wealthy people who only care about money, and that's never good. You know what I'm saying? Like any depiction you can imagine of like a bunch of old you people in a room, like
no, you need young idealists.
It's never good, right? Like that's never a good thing. Yeah. But at the top of every corporation, when it gets big enough, is that little circle of curmudgeon, you know? So like the tighter you get a group, the more that group's, the more the consequences of manipulating that group, the greater those, then the more interest there will be from money and power and all of those things, and it just gets tricky when somebody recognizes.
Well,
that
what's wrong with money and power though? Like, shouldn't you try to get both as much as you can of both? Why not?
Because those things are more fleeting than human existence.
Right. So get them while you can.
I guess if that's, but like,
I'm not saying like as
because here's the thing.
It depends on what you're doing with them, I guess.
If nothing, like, if our existence is finite and what we have here is all we have.
Right.
And you spend your life focused on something that doesn't even have permanent value in your open or like, set parameter of life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That just feels like you only get one of these. Like, why would you waste it on something that doesn't even matter in the moment when you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like you should always try to be in the moment and just experiencing life.
experiences, things that are memories. You know what I'm saying? Like, ultimately, as far as I can understand the way that it works, we have this life, and then when we die, our fucking pineal gland releases a massive dump of DMT, and our last moment of experience is an infinite moment.
That's crazy.
And because when have you done DMT or
not really
any of like that level of psychedelic?
I've done mushrooms, but
the
not DMT.
yeah, mushrooms is a little, and LSD are both a little bit different, like the experience, but with DMT specifically, and also with salvia, it is a very short actual time of experience. So you trip for like 15 minutes, but you can experience
like a lot of time dilation.
Years of time in that little and fully, like, to the point where you remember that much time having existed that didn't. So that's with like a tiny little morsel of DMT in comparison to what your brain releases in that last moment. So
maybe that's how
the idea
works.
is, in that moment, you experience enough DMT that that split second of your life ending, you experience eternity.
That's fucking cool.
In whatever
that's awesome.
version of that it exists in your mind of your creation.
That'd be really cool.
It is. It's interesting. So that being the case, like, if that's all it is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I doubt it's even that, but that would be cool.
if that's the ending of it, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know. What does it mean to?
I'm so sorry for both of those. Jesus.
Is that your pills?
That's picking up the kid from school, which I'm not doing today.
Okay. Do you gotta head off?
No. The wife's picking it up.
Okay.
I just have a daily alarm automatically,
gotcha.
and I just forgot to turn it
on. What were we talking about?
DMT, tripping, dying.
Yeah. Well, anyway, time dilation, and that kind of shit. Do you think that could be how Inception works? Like they were taking a chemical. Maybe it was like some kind of DMT.
Something
and
like that.
And what if we actually evolved a VR technology like that, where it was like time dilation to the max? I would go in for sure. Like, what if you could get you could live multiple lifetimes inside of a VR world? Wouldn't we all be doing that now? Like, just to gain XP?
I mean, are we all doing that now?
I don't know. We could be.
That's the whole simulation argument, right? Is like, that's what's happening, is we're all just...
Here's the thing about reality. What can anyone really say about it? What can we really say about it? We know math and science, and we have this religious framework. But most of religion is belief compared to science. If you're going to make a knowledge and a proof of like verifiable and testable, and you're able to basically prove things wrong is a requirement. Otherwise, everything is belief. Anything you can't prove wrong is a belief.
Yes. Yeah.
Like we believe in the graviton,
which is why
a fundamental particle or whatever.
Belief is why religion can be so good and so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what people are capable of when they truly believe something is astonishing.
It's definitely an open question.
Truly astonishing.
Yeah,
unknown. The answer to the pyramids is just that.
You think so? Magic shit? I don't know. Could be.
I don't know that it's... I'm just saying, like...
Isn't it slaves? Wasn't it slaves?
But that's what I'm saying. Just like people believing that they had to do it, and so that it was possible because they would anger this God. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, like, belief is at the center of human beings being capable of seemingly extraordinary things.
Yeah.
What seems to be supernatural becomes possible because there's a collective belief that it is, right?
Which is a crazy new finding.
Yeah, but it's also why it can be so dangerous, right? Because that can be manipulated, and thusly you can manipulate society. It's crazy. Like religion,
It can be through religion.
Sure, I think of religion the same way I think about guns.
Dangerous and effective.
Yes, and also not everybody should have them.
Yeah, totally.
Like some people, it's better if you don't.
Well, yeah, probably.
And there are responsible,
but not everybody wants them.
Versions of both, right? Like there's responsible people who own guns and don't go out and shoot people, and it's like those are the people you want. The people you never know have them.
I think the only reason to have a gun is for when it's impossible to get one. Like you don't need to. I don't know. People like train all the time, and it's like. What if the government really did make a move or whatever?
And you have to exactly. And the same thing for religion. Like I think for the most part on a daily basis, nobody needs religion. And then when like that world is ending and people are freaking out and you need to calm them all down, now you know what I'm saying? So like,
but even in that case, I still think we don't get reset that hard.
I don't know.
Well, you were saying like we'll have that this decline. Well, yeah, who knows? Right. Yeah,
I don't know.
Who can know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a like. There's no like because of this. This is why. But I just think it's a cyclical thing. And
is there anything we can prepare for? I just think we're due. Like, how would we prepare for it?
But I mean, but that's the thing. It's never been a predictable thing. Like and we think of like outside thing like an asteroid company coming or also the center of America that is the giantest volcanic.
Oh yeah. Yellowstone.
You know what I'm saying? Like the Earth could just eat us,
or a Yellowstone we don't even know of could eat us.
Exactly. Yes. Right. Like totally. all of that. Right. Or all
it's just a zip popping.
All of the entire polar ice caps could melt at the same time and flood like half of the population away. You know what I'm saying? In like a 100-foot tall wave that just wipes out millions of people.
Probably not in America, but. Huh? I think we can build seawalls. I think we can build things. I think so.
For that level, I don't know.
It's an engine. Everything is like an engineering problem. Like things can be done physically in the world.
Yes, but where do you find like
the resources?
The resources, but also the manpower and all that other stuff. Like
it's cheaper to save San Francisco than to lose it.
But who's going to do it?
San Francisco.
Sure, you just get all of the tech nerds. Well, really, in San Francisco.
Thing to do is build a system.
Are you kidding me? Have you
CO2
been
out of
to San
air.
Francisco? You're expecting the population of San Francisco to build a wall that's going to stop the wave of all. That's what I'm saying. Like people now. How are you going to motivate people now who have TikTok?
Well, they'll never do it until they need to. People, unfortunately,
but that's what I'm saying. I think it's when it's too late. Like.
Well,
I think that's when they're like, we should have built a sand wall. You know, I
think that people just have to be motivated. They have to be motivated.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying. I think the big bad thing is what motivates people.
Yeah, like it has to have already happened. People don't prepare that much unless it's already happened.
Because we get comfortable. That's what I think is the reality. Is like I think that's the cycle of humanity, and I think it's fine. I don't think it's a problem. That we go through very hard, very difficult. We innovate, we grow, we get to the point where things are nice, things are comfortable. It's pretty good to be a human. We get too relaxed, and then something crazy happens, and then we remember that we're fucking animals living in a wild place.
Yeah.
Because the world
that can't describe reality, that we don't understand reality. People have frameworks. That's all they have. We have math, physics, whatever.
Yeah.
Like we have science and religion. Those are the two things. But like go and say what is the absolute truth about the world that we're living in. People can just regurgitate what they know, what they've managed to learn.
Yeah, or what they've been taught, what you know what I'm saying, whether or not it's legitimate, just what their perspective is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't.
But like, are we in a VR experiment? Are we like, I don't know, the creation of a god? Are we just like some biological expression of some mathematical equation? Who knows?
Yeah, maybe a combination of all of that.
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe we're just the thing now.
But it is so crazy that we're the only thing that can think about that in the universe.
That we know of.
But like everything we observe, which is a lot, including trees and everything that's out there, like nothing is like us in that way.
That we're able to understand.
Even animals are somewhat like us in that way, but not so much as anything else we observe.
Yes, but again, it's all perspective, right? So like maybe that's true, or maybe the limits of our ability to comprehend what consciousness is and
yeah, exactly. Like animals could be having totally rich conscious lives.
Yeah, maybe, right?
With as much
and we
thought
just aren't able to understand
Yeah.
what they understand.
But maybe a lot of what we're doing is like, you know, we're sharing information. We're talking. We're talking back and forth. And animals don't do that as much, I think. Like maybe there's a ton that happened in the evolution of language. And you have to be able to communicate telepathically ideas and receive them as well in order to communicate. Because I could say anything. My thing is like red ball in space dripping. You have a white ball glowing, you know, like in space, like a black void. And then like make it drip with like yellow paint. And, you know, you can imagine that. And that's fucking telepathy that you can imagine that. I assume that you can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The other thing that's interesting is like how much of what we all perceive that we think is the same isn't.
Even if there's not variance, even if there's wide variance, the point is you can still have the general image of something spoken out loud, heard, vibrated in your ears, creates an image of something in your mind that is shared through language.
But that's the thing. Like maybe it's shared. Like,
well, what did you see? What did you see?
Like, what if looking at this?
I don't know if it is shared.
We're looking at this cup. You and I both look at this cup and we see a blue cup, right?
Yeah.
And we both know this is blue.
Yeah.
Because we've been taught our whole life that what we see when we look here
is blue. Totally.
But what if what your eyes are seeing is what I call red?
Well, it doesn't matter as long as it's interchangeable.
But that's what I'm saying. How many layers of that reality are there?
What if there was a ton?
That we'll never even recognize because we've all come to a common agreement that like that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
It becomes
and there's
irrelevant.
No way for me to know.
Yes.
Unless I like took your eyes out and connected them to my brain, and I'm like, oh shit, it's a different film. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what if it was all different? What if it was like completely unique in every? I mean, it probably is.
What if that happened? Like
people
who got,
but like the point is,
like
cool.
eye transplants, like they put new eyes in, and literally it's like there's a blue tint on the. You know what I'm saying? Like something like you see things. It'd be so weird.
Would you do that if you got extra powers?
Interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you could zoom, take pictures,
right?
Multiple frequencies.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if it was like an organic eyeball that looked the exact same, but it could do all that stuff, I would do it.
Yeah. The other
maybe
thing
it glows.
is like,
that'd be kind of cool if you could set the colors.
Once, I feel like there is a point at which
you shouldn't customize your Bitmoji.
Understand the way that all of the individual signals the brain is sending out work.
Yeah.
To the point that you can literally put a brain in a capsule
and just like
and have that brain be you and your consciousness.
But we're always trying to communicate.
In a robot.
Yeah.
Just do, you know what I'm saying? That does whatever. I don't know.
Well, you were saying like you could read a brain. Yeah.
Well, with the fucking what's the Elon Musk's brain
Neuralink. But like a lot of what even animals do in communication is through like their speech patterns and whatever, their smells, like all sorts of ways that they communicate. With humans, it's a lot about like what is communicated while you're speaking. And
yes, yeah, like the way you're looking at somebody, the way you say the words you're saying, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And through all that communication, through all that communication, I think we come to a common understanding of reality, which I think is a big part of what we're all trying to do. And we recognize that blue is blue, and it is. It doesn't matter if it's a different thing for us, because the only thing that matters is that in the shared reality, it is blue. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're getting pretty freaking good at it. And we've been passing down, like first we had like whatever ancient religions, and then it was like the Greek gods, still pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And we put all those into the Abrahamic God, which is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Mm-hmm. And then all of them have their variants. Mm-hmm. And whatever else, people might believe. And that is like the spiritual frameworks. And now we've augmented that with this rational framework of science that lets us test things and experiment and gather more information in a verifiable way that other scientists can be like, oh, yes, that checks out. Mm-hmm. And so I think what both science and religion are trying to do is to fucking figure out what's going on in the world.
Yeah. And I think there's the same amount of room for positive and negative with both of those things, because
do they serve the same purpose?
I don't know. I think science, so science at its core is just the collection of and understanding of information.
Yeah, like facts we've discovered that we can prove.
But tools change, people's understanding of the information changes, and so science is not as rigid as right or wrong, because it evolves, right? Which is what makes it valuable, is the fact that you keep asking the questions, right?
Yeah.
So even though we know that this is true, we established it, there's always going to be somebody questioning it, going, well, let's test it this way that hasn't been done. And sometimes it's law of physics that we just like gravity is what it is, and it, but then sometimes it's a thing that like we always thought we knew.
It's always
and then
that
somebody creative comes along and it's like, well,
they
what
see
about
the bigger picture,
and it blows the whole thing up,
yes.
right? So I think where religion lacks is that everything is set.
Yeah, it's one framework to explain everything.
We've got a book.
Yeah,
it's all in
based
there.
off the book. Yeah.
Go to the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but it's like, but that was written then when people knew as much as they knew then.
Yeah. And I think that always worked until we started elaborating things with technology, and these generational lines got more and more not only defined, but increasingly shorter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the amount of time it takes for you to find out that the people before you were full of shit is much shorter.
Yeah. So have you ever heard this idea that in the future it will be way harder to like be deceptive, like more of the truth will be known?
I don't know, because it seems like more information is available and people are dumber and believing bullshit more and more.
Well, I think that is the idea, that more information is available.
Like we were talking about with this, when it gets to the point where people just 100% believe whatever comes out of that machine, and somebody with the desire to manipulate that figures that out, now people start to believe bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
I think that it can be pretty reliable
goes
with
to
a lot of information, though.
Maybe there's an upward tick first where like that information gets so reliable that people want to trust it, that because it's so accurate. It should
be provably reliable.
But then there's a crossover point where again people get complacent and they stop, and then nobody tests it anymore, and then somebody starts to manipulate the system, and then people just blindly believe
I think it's a solvable problem. I think that we can at least agree and have arbiters on this that make decisions on a basic set of truths that we know about the universe, or that we think we know. Everything is we think we know.
That always changes.
Yeah, so it's always with the caveat, this is what we think we know.
Yeah. Yes, that would have to be built in. That this is the way we understand things right now.
Yeah.
It's just so tough from a logistical standpoint. It is tough to maintain growth in ideas, because at some point you got to implement the idea, and that costs resources and time and effort. And so
but there's so many people implementing ideas.
If information is moving at a faster rate than you can implement the new information, you get to a point where it's just like you're drinking out of a water hose.
Yeah, but that's going to be how it is forever.
And it's too much.
Well, it's just how it is.
Until you drown.
I mean, like...
until we all drown, and then...
I don't know, like, what was I thinking? Like, why is it a water hose?
Because there's too much, like, there's a plateau of like I said, there's a certain amount of time that it takes to implement a new idea, and if you figure out a better way when you're halfway through implementing it, now you got to start over. You know what I'm saying? So that there can be a point where that actually slows progress, because you're never finishing implementing one of those ideas, because you're always starting the new one. So it's just a bunch of half-cocked, half-finished, but like it's progressing, but nothing's ever actually and then at some point it's like...
But that's like how all technology is it's built layer on layer on layer.
Which is why I think at some point
it accumulates. Everything accumulates. I don't know. Like it depends on how durable a system is. That's the question. Mm-hmm. Is a pebble going to destroy it? I don't know. A natural disaster could destroy the system. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's natural disasters that could take out the infrastructure. So just like the cell towers, you know what I'm saying? There's a way that like we could have a crazy amount of tornadoes pop, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if you lose power for a couple days and people run out of food and water, they're gonna get real vicious.
It happens real quick.
Well, it's the human animal, and people are gonna like do what they can to survive.
I remember reading, somebody did a study, and obviously it's just a guesstimate, and it probably would happen much quicker, but I think it was like 3 days. It was like 3 to 4 days is what it would take. So without access to what we're all used to before, not just before people start getting like not as nice, but like before people start like
raiding and looting,
stabbing their neighbor to get a loaf. You know what I'm saying? Like real quick, it gets like bad.
How quick do you think?
So, but that's what I'm saying. I think the more that we become reliant on all these systems, the shorter the time it takes for
we should
us to
build
revert.
systems that prevent that from ever happening. That can be done.
I don't think it can.
Well, what are the requirements? You need food, shelter, water. That's it. Internet, I guess.
Yeah, but we start running out of those resources. Also,
we'll just build prisons.
The more that you like, the more that you synthesize things, the more problematic it becomes, right? So the problem of cancer, like the disease cancer, exists because of all of the things that we've created, processed foods. We put everything in plastics that secrete, you know what I'm saying? All of the things that
all these unnatural inputs,
cancer existing in the body, but we can't get rid of all of them because we're reliant. Like we need all of this shit. It makes our life so convenient. Well, now they're going to start making laboratory meat, and I'm sure just like every box of processed food that is literally killing you and giving you cancer cells.
Yeah.
There will be some government that's like, clone meat's good, and then people will just start eating it. But like,
yeah, I don't know.
There are so like if there's a
what if we find a way to make food technology?
But that's what I'm saying. There's a cost.
Yeah, there will be.
The less natural we make things, like we're supposed to be symbiotic with this planet, and the more we remove our connection to it and make it synthetic,
what if the planet is a seed that is meant to be a husk, as we all are, right? And we're supposed to shoot off into fucking space.
But we're not. We're supposed to die here, and our nutrients are supposed to go back into the fucking ground. And we're supposed to be here.
No, the species. You don't think we gotta like try to go to Mars? Well, we're gonna try.
We're gonna try. Of course, we're gonna try. No, I don't think it's like that's fine. Like it's cool as fuck to. But I think ultimately, like, we're supposed to be here for as long as we're here, and then we'll stop existing, and there will be something else. And we're all convinced that we're the last thing, but so were the fucking Neanderthals, and you know what I'm saying? So were every other thing that got eliminated for us to exist.
As far as we can sense, we are the only light of consciousness in the universe.
But from our perspective.
We are the only thing that can reason about the universe. We're the only parts of the universe that can describe itself.
But again, from our perspective.
Well, but who's like we don't have another perspective.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That could exist outside of our understanding.
Yeah, like aliens could be observing us and something.
Our ability, because there's also like the laws of physics exist because of the specific parameters that exist in this planet, in the solar system, all of those things, right? So the way that those
are just describing what we can observe and test.
Exactly. And those laws change if you change the parameters. So like
100%.
You go to a different galaxy, but our tools,
or just like we sense some new frequencies, we sense some new dimension, basically.
Sure, but our tools are only capable of understanding things within our parameters. So like a bug that doesn't recognize that we exist because the spectrum of light it sees on we don't exist in.
Whoa.
Like that's a thing that is physical in our world that can't comprehend our existence.
Wait, really? Like it can't even see us?
It can't. It literally cannot. Like that's why different things interact with stuff differently, because it literally can't perceive things beyond a certain spectrum.
Yeah.
Well, we're also limited. Even within what we understand, we know that our eyes have the ability to see
some part of the visible
very,
spectrum.
very small percentage of the spectrum that we even understand, which again, we're only able to understand what we're understanding based on our ability to build tools to see, right? So like there could be full existing layers of, different, we would call them alien, but like just different levels of consciousness and existence or whatever that exist on a plane that we can't physically see, can't hear, can't interact with. And all of those things could be in and amongst us, and we would never know the difference. So so that the idea that we're the only thing is based on literally our limitation to understand anything beyond ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. And actually that type of physical system could be possible, that you could have existing in the same space multiple frequencies of consciousness that
don't even interact physically, because literally they have different physical properties,
governing rules and properties of their local bubble.
And so
if they're part of the multiverse,
and it could be vice versa, that they could be existing and not realizing I'm not saying that they're like they can see it, but like we can see that bug that can't see us, and maybe there's that level of like there's something else.
That is such a crazy idea too.
Or maybe there's also things that like there's two bugs that
exist. So like the caterpillar
that
only
can't see each other. So maybe we're a thing and there's another thing. But that has to be
how it works. Is like all sorts of different sensors are limited by what is advantageous for them to sense.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Like bugs.
Yeah. Because there's also like the bug doesn't need to see us.
Right.
It serves no value for the bug to understand.
Well, if it can't comprehend something, how
then
can
why,
it
then why would it need to sense
consider?
its existence?
Well, it just doesn't have the energy to do it or whatever.
So what is our limitation? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the thing that's great? And that's the thing. And a lot of that is probably what we end up describing as supernatural things. Like there was a glitch in the Matrix, or something caused a crossover between us and some other dimensional thing. And to whoever perceived that, it seems like a rift in time opened and God spoke to you. But it was, you know what I'm saying? It was just like a weird cross between the physical properties, and we interacted with some other dimensional thing.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, shit.
So maybe that's the answer to a lot of the,
religious myths.
Yeah,
and
all
the
of
figures.
that. It's just a moment in time where something happened that the minds of the people who experienced it could only comprehend it in those terms.
Multiverse consciousness.
Yeah, right? Like, who knows?
Well, it could be anything, but I think that kind of is the point.
And maybe there's even a world where we do cross over into, like, when we stop existing in this body, that's when we stop living under the parameters of this existence. And maybe there is a moment where we pass, where our consciousness becomes another thing.
What if I create a game and it's called Afterlife, and in this game your whole brain and everything you are gets turned into an avatar where you can live and exist with all the other people in Afterlife, and it's just a simulation, but once you go in, it feels like 30% better than reality. You just feel like this is way better.
What if there was a way to build a game that was like a directly attached, maybe through like a Neuralink something or whatever, but it was directly attached to your real life. And so inside this game, you exist exactly as you do.
Is an avatar,
life.
yeah.
But then there is an elevated level of be it another, world, another, map, to put it in gaming terms, where nobody can access that until your character that's connected to you in real life dies.
Whoa, cool.
And then it goes to this other area. And again, no one living has access to that, but the system is monitoring it. Would it be weird if you created that system and then you checked to see what was happening, and those characters are existing still and interacting? And it's like, are those dead people's ghosts interacting with the game? Does that make sense? Like, what a weird thing. I don't know. I'm fucking high. I'm real high.
Dude, that's a crazy idea. That's a crazy idea. Just like the dead interacting and what happens like really in reality and what is our life. And I don't know. I think I would go into a game if it was really good and I got to experience it in some way first. Like, what if you played it for a couple of years?
I wouldn't want to be a tester.
No, of course. Like there's been, everything is like, verified.
I'm not trying to be the person who gets their brain liquefied. Crossover.
Let that happen to the whatever. But what if there was an experience that felt measurably better than this reality, and you just really did feel like, okay, this is where I should be?
I don't know. I thoroughly enjoy this reality.
Yeah, it's great.
There isn't a version of existence that's better than this to me.
Well, but you haven't experienced it.
But I'm just saying, like, an artificial, because ultimately it's an artificial version of this, right? Like, it's a recreation of this. I don't think you can do better than this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it could.
Because again, just going back to anytime we try to synthesize nature, it's never as good.
It's really hard. It's really hard. And you have to have some way to recreate billions of years of logic. But what if we could just read it somehow? I don't know. Yeah. They figure stuff out. They engineer solutions. Yeah. And all that engineering is creating this tailwind of technology that we get to benefit from. And so I think we're on a fucking wild ride. Towards bionic eyes and cyborgs and AI.
Some kind of intermixing of humanity and technology on the next level for sure.
And it'll be incredible to see in 50 years what can be done, what will be done, because like we were talking about, the generations are so long and now they're so quick. Mm-hmm. And if we have new technology platforms coming out like space and I don't know, dude, here's a question. Maybe we can close with this question and that I wanted to ask. Like, have you ever thought about the relationship between gravity and time? This is a weird question, but it came up while we were talking.
Like
they're kind of the same thing. Where like or not the same thing, but like it seems like there is a relationship between in space. So like if you have a really heavy object in space, it has its own gravity, right? We know that the Earth, you jump up, you come down, that's gravity. And but if you have it really crazy heavy, then it starts to affect time and space. Like time is somehow a property of space. It's crazy. So like if you were able to fly, then you should also be able to control time. That's what I think.
So, well, yeah, but time is a funny thing because time is basically just our perception of the things that we've decided facilitate a chronological story of our existence. So like age.
What is the story? Is that it's a quick way to remember something.
Yeah. So, but like what we consider time is like the amount of existence that needs to go by for certain things to happen. Right. So for something to grow and then to die, for a certain amount of time has to go by to accomplish a certain thing. But like those are all based on our perception of that. So like if you change the rules, right? So like if I got in my car and blinked and I was at my house that's now an hour plus away, that changes. Like if we could figure out a way to bend physics in a way that I can instantly go from here to there.
You somehow fix the properties of space and time in a way where you just walk through a portal. Boom.
Yeah. Whereas now, before it would have taken a certain amount.
You're like, you didn't know how to fix the properties of space time.
Exactly. So right now I age an hour to accomplish that.
Yeah.
100 years ago, you would have aged 3 days or a
whatever.
week or a month, whatever it was. Yeah. Depending on how wild the territory was between here and there, to accomplish the same thing, right? So literally as you change those parameters, what time is changes.
That's also true.
So, which I think plays into the, like what you were talking about, how quickly generations change and stuff like that. It's like what we experience in a lifetime now, the reason that life seems longer and longer, the more that those things change, is because what can be accomplished in a lifetime is much greater.
Yes. Enhanced by technology.
So there was a time when building a building was a thing that it took a person's entire existence to accomplish.
Yeah.
And now we have people who own a company that'll like, and you got a house in a month.
It's a side
just
project.
Done from wild trees to beautiful home with all of your picked different colors and all, you know what I'm saying? Like incredible, right? So what those rules are change based on the parameters that they exist in, right? So yeah, I think time is, but also like you said, like gravity and how that affects like motion. Because like our bodies, if we existed on a planet that had half as much gravity, our joints wouldn't wear out as quickly.
Yeah.
Our hearts wouldn't have to pump as hard to move the blood.
Travel.
Like this body would wear down less quickly because it wouldn't have to work as hard to just exist. So,
but maybe that's part of what made it rise up to begin with, right?
Sure, absolutely, yes, and that's the argument of like the hardships are, which is why I think we're not anywhere close to the downturn that is inevitable, because I think that there is like, why does everybody have anxiety?
It's
because there's a literal physical part of the human body
there's like not being
that needs to feed off of heavy resistance, or like my life
we're supposed to be challenged.
I might not survive. Like
by nature,
that level
that's a challenge.
We need that.
Yeah,
and most of us don't experience that at all.
And so
that
agree more.
That just builds up inside of you, and the physical reality of that is pockets of your body releasing that chemical that it's supposed to release on like an even, but you never have those experiences that like we evolved to need those things, and we're not experiencing those things. And so our body that has evolved through that, fire isn't built for this now.
We're
so
not adapted to our environment.
That's why everybody's got depression and anxiety, all of those that like we're not supposed to be in this, and it's fucking us up.
Well, we do have to fix that.
And our current solution is not fixing it. Let's just turn off the sensors in your brain that are going on. Like that's not, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what the medication does, is it just blocks the signal. Like that's not fixing the problem.
That's
the
not
electrodes
fixing the problem.
still sending, you know what I'm saying? And then that causes other problems where those people have other issues that, are sometimes
medication
worse. Like you're suicidal now,
thing,
and it's like, oh well, that's not anxiety, so I guess that's different. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no the solutions we have now aren't a solution. So we have to find a way to either we've evolved to the point where we no longer need that system, and so the next evolution of humanity needs to come that doesn't have that built in, or all of this is nature telling us that like this is not good,
that is it.
And also be ready for this to not be how it is.
Well, it's always in flux. Yeah, dude. Holy shit. Okay, gravity, bending of space-time. There's no way to sum up everything we talked about.
Oh my God, we did all of the things. I think we talked about everything but comedy.
Yeah, well, it was great. Yeah. Whatever it was awesome.
It was good.
So tell us how to connect with you.
You can see me around Austin. I'll be at shows at Fourth and Company, Kingdom, which is it's a music spot, but they're doing comedy stuff now too. I'm on a show, maybe on a show at Vulcan in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I'll be all over downtown. You can find me on socials at Gabe K Comedy.
Gabe K. Brother Gabriel.
Brother Gabriel.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Fuck yeah, man. It was fun.
It was really
Thanks
fun.
for having me.